Back and bigger than ever, it's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 podcast, brought to you by Dead Soxy and Soonerscoop.com. So welcome in. It is Bedlam week. We have Bedlam. I don't know about you guys. I started talking about Bedlam yesterday morning on the radio, and it was a pretty deep diving discussion about the advantages, the disadvantages, this and that. And it was the first time I realized, like, holy shit, there's a really big game going on this weekend. Maybe you guys have felt that way ever since Iowa State was over. But Tuesday, November 23rd, is when I finally realized, wow, we have a haymaker, a Donnybrook getting ready to take place this weekend.
I don't think people really felt that with the rankings coming out. I know as much as we all think that show is garbage, when you see 10 OU, 7 Cowboys, that lets people know, like, this is a little bit different. We've had some good ones, no doubt, last, 15 years or so, but, to have a top 10 showdown that, and you can say still playoff, scenarios
implications
are alive, especially for the Cowboys, but even for the Sooners, this is a big one.
I don't know for me that it settled in anytime here recently, but literally right before we were podding, I was talking with some buddies, and I think I'm figuring out where I come out on this game. Like, it was kind of one of those ones, I was kind of through the week making cases, but as I listened to them talk and kind of going back and forth, I was like, oh, okay, I think I know where I'm at on this game, and I don't know that I'll make a ton of fans at the end of this podcast.
Donnybrook.
I will say this. You like that one? You can use that
Donnybrook. That's a very 1920s reporter type guy. Isn't it?
Yeah. That's exactly where it comes from.
Yeah, I like that.
It makes me think of Letterkenny, being the Letterkenny fan that I am. That's the Canadian hockey guys talking that crap.
They use Donnybrook a lot.
Oh, they like Donnybrook. Yep, yeah. That's a popular one.
So here's where I think it is. I think none of us thought that OU had a chance in hell of winning this game this weekend, the way the offenses looked the last 2 weeks. And I don't know who it is that's doing this to me. Somebody's giving me hope, that this could happen.
Not LSU hope, right?
No, my God. Yeah, maybe it's just the fact that I want to get away from the Bob Stoops to Florida and the Lincoln Riley to LSU rumors for a little bit and just enjoy, getting ready for a really big football game. And
I just think it's
trying to make it like it actually is possible for us to see something amazing this weekend.
Carrie, a little bit of it has to be just the history of this game. I think that there's so many times that Oklahoma has gone either up to Stillwater or they've hosted OSU, and on paper you would think there's no way OU is going to win this game. I think 2013 is kind of the main talking point for a lot of Oklahoma fans. But at the same time, I look at it this way, and you look at kind of the three key bullet points. I find Oklahoma to be a very undisciplined football team. They make the mistakes in the wrong times, it seems like, repeatedly. You look at Caleb Williams and the way that he's played on the road, whether it be in Lawrence or Waco, and remember how much he struggled in the first half in Lawrence. I just don't think that they're going to be able to flip the script all of a sudden in a game with this importance. With the environment that they're walking into, just you kind of lay everything out on the table, and it's and then you start really looking for reasons of how this offense can start moving the football, and it just seems like it's a big ask going against a defense that is seemingly a bunch of grown-ass men. It's not a defense that is, I guess in ways like even under. Glenn Spencer is they would just get the turnover when they needed it. This is a suffocating Oklahoma State defense, and I just don't know if Oklahoma is going to all of a sudden be able to wake up. I guess I've tried to talk myself into thinking that Oklahoma can win this game, but every time I get to the end of talking myself into thinking that they can, I don't know. I get a sense of reality hit me right in the face, and it's okay. Maybe I'm just trying to believe in something that's not there.
Let me ask you a question.
And I just trust Spencer Sanders more than Caleb Williams is like that. And that doesn't mean that I think that.
That's a wild sentence.
I know.
No, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's a wild thing to think. I agree.
Well, I mean, look, Caleb Williams is a true freshman. I mean, wake up. He's a true freshman. Everybody that's bitching about Caleb Williams, he's a true freshman. I don't know if you got the note on that, but that's what he is. Like, he was going to have some growing pains, and he's going through them right now. By the way,
I'm not shitting on him. Spencer Sanders is... I mean, like, to me, when I look at this game, and because I'm always like, okay,
Sanders
what's the path?
Well over the last 5 weeks.
Yes,
you would admit that
he has.
Right?
He has against Kansas, West Virginia, TCU, and Texas Tech.
I mean, you could argue there were some games that some OU quarterbacks didn't play that well against those defenses, but you know that's neither here nor there.
TCU
But
and Tech aren't two of them though.
Yeah, fair enough. And those were both in Norman, which I think we've seen there is a variance there.
TCU is in Stillwater.
But my deal is
they scored 63. So
when you look at this game, what's the path for Oklahoma? I don't see them scoring 31. Like, this isn't going to just suddenly the offense is going to click.
Mm-hmm. They absolutely have to win a grinder. I mean, there's no other. They're not going to score more than 24 points in this game. I mean, even though Iowa State scored 24 on them, they did that on the road. Iowa State did that in their home stadium. But since then, 3 by Kansas, 3 by West Virginia, 17 by TCU, and 0 by Texas Tech. So I will say, like, that's very impressive. But again, the last team worth the shit that they really played, they lost to.
That's fair.
And that's where
you beat last week.
That argument about OU's been building up to this by playing Baylor and Iowa State.
Yeah.
And so the shock reality of playing Baylor's defense might have been legit coming off the games that they had done. But now, okay, it's like we've seen 2 incredible defenses. Here's the third. All right, we know exactly what we're getting into.
Remember the first series against Baylor? Just how much that offensive line got blown up, how ridiculous it looked like the JV team for OU showed up to start that game. Like, they were not ready for that defense that day. Now, are they more ready? Oklahoma State's a different level. They're a better defense. But they're not going from Texas Tech to Oklahoma State.
Yeah. And Texas Tech did a pretty good job with Oklahoma State last week. That's actually the game I'm using for under the hood, going, kind of over that one. So there were some good moments for Tech in that game defensively. Now, offensively, they could do nothing. So, but what I was getting at is, okay, you've got to decide, like, what's the point total OU has to get to win? Like, what's the bare minimum that you think Oklahoma can hold Oklahoma State to? To me, 20 is probably about right. Like, I don't see Oklahoma State being held under that. Like, I think they'll find some plays. Their running game's good enough. They'll do some things. They'll score some points. I don't think they're going to go crazy. I think OU's defense is peaking at the right time. So that's a vote for them. But at the same time, I just struggle to find enough plays for Oklahoma offensively when Caleb Williams averaged less than 5 yards per pass attempt last week. Guys, that's Kansas level bad.
Oh, nobody's trying to say he was good. I don't think. I mean, it was awful.
And against a secondary that has some vulnerabilities. That's not what you say about Oklahoma State.
There's been so much, and I do want to talk about, Oklahoma offensively and what they're going to have to do. I think they're going to have to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to be able to average over, 3.5 yards a carry, I would think, if they want to have any chance of being able to win the game. You're not going to drop Caleb Williams back 40 times and win this football game. But you did say something that I think is probably being overlooked a little bit, and it's because Oklahoma State's so good defensively. This is an Oklahoma defense that has made steps in the last 3 weeks. And if you're talking about a path that Oklahoma can win the football game, you have to have the Perrin Winfrey, Isaiah Thomas, Nick Benito, Jalen Redmonds of the world turn in the type of game that they played a week ago against Iowa State. How good was that group last week, Josh?
The defensive front, they were unbelievable. Like, Guys, I tweeted something out. Jalen Redmond had 1/8 of Oklahoma's total quarterback hurries for the season last week. That's just a crazy stat when you think about all the talent they've got. Perrion Winfrey, Isaiah Thomas, all these guys that can make plays, for him to have had that kind of game. And guys, we talked about it while they were gone. And last week I thought was the perfect embodiment. De'Aaron Turner-Yell, Woody Washington, and Jalen Redmond have changed that defense. They look like the guys we thought we were going to see all year. Woody Washington's playing great football. Jalen Redmond playing great football. I think De'Aaron Turner-Yell is playing the best football of his career right now.
He is.
So
he is.
there are things you can buy into, but it just feels like, and maybe that's what it is. I'm so used to OU having a little margin for error, and there's none. They have to play a clean game, which we haven't seen them do all year. And that's where all these things that we think we know about this team suddenly have to be wrong. And that's what concerns me.
The one number that kind of sticks out to me, and if you want to have success against Spencer Sanders and Oklahoma State offensively, I think that, it's pretty obvious. You want to get him in 3rd and long and make Spencer Sanders beat you with his arm. Last 2 weeks, 11 tackles for loss against Baylor, 11 tackles for loss against Iowa State. It is a defense that does seem to be moving in the right direction. If you can force a couple turnovers, then you give your offense an opportunity. And, Bob and I were talking about this morning. It's like you just don't want to get into the situation that you saw in Waco, where now you're in a tight game in the 4th quarter, but that defense has been out there for 75-plus snaps or something.
I mean, you look at what OU's defense has done through 3 quarters and back-to-back weeks. It's the fourth quarter has been, tough in both of those games, but those first 3 quarters with a typical OU offense, you think that's an easy win. And you can't expect them to do that 3 times in a row to where they're just lights out for 3 quarters, but you haven't been able to separate on the scoreboard yet.
And thank God that warning, Josh, this might send you into PTSD triggers, but thank God that Oklahoma State doesn't have a cowboy back that they can use like Charlie Kohler.
Oh, God. Yep. I'm going to just...
Some of the Monday morning stuff that was up on the board this week, I was legitimately laughing out loud at some of the breakdowns that you had there in the 4th quarter with Charlie Kohler v. Justin Broyles.
Guys, at some point, it's just not fair to Justin Broyles. Like, there's no reason for him to be in some of the situations he's in. And... we don't have to get into that because they've crossed that bridge, and like you said, Oklahoma State doesn't bring that problem to the table for Oklahoma. But again, it was clear what Oklahoma State was going to do, Iowa State was going to do on that last drive, and Oklahoma did nothing to address it. We're going to let it be until they got down inside the red zone, or I think it was at the 21. And
just let it happen, and they were okay with it. It seemed like
what if Iowa State had done that all 4 quarters?
Yes,
no shit. Or had a quarterback that could get him the ball the entire game. I mean,
for all the genius,
anybody else but Brock Purdy, probably OU loses that game. How many times have we sat here?
Go look at that 4th down, Eddie.
Right,
and
he's wide open.
Chase Allen is wide open. That is Caleb Williams is 8 of 18. Caleb Williams completes that pass, and he either walks into the end zone or he clearly gets the first down. There's no other way around that. And
if they're sitting 1st and goal from the 9-yard line with 27 seconds left, there's no doubt. Kerry and I talked about it on the postgame pod. There's zero doubt in either of your minds that if they score a touchdown there, you're going for 2, right?
100%.
I mean, they did it the 2 years prior.
Sure.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think everybody knew what they were going to do. You throw it to Chase Allen or Charlie Kohler. I mean, it's pretty obvious on the 2-point conversion. Now, it's all hypothetical because it's going back in history and can't change that. But I don't know. It's just like the 4th quarter things over the last couple of weeks has been concerning, but it all comes back to an offense that is having an inability to stay on the football field. Is that as simple as it is?
I think so. I mean, guys, they had a chance to ice that game away and just kind of like that first series against Baylor was their last real drive against Iowa State when they tried to run the ball, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, they ran the ball well. Yeah, they picked their moments well. Okay, Iowa State's got 5 guys in the box. Run. That's just numbers. That's just math. When Iowa State said you can't run the ball, it didn't happen. When they put 6 or 7 in the box, nothing.
That previous drive, they go 5 plays, 68 yards. It's all Gray and Brooks, and you think they've got it. And then I think on that first down, they try to get a little cute with Caleb running it, and then that just kind of just blew that last drive up. I know Kennedy Brooks put himself at fault, I think, for a second down run. I didn't quite see it, but yeah, that was very disturbing because you sort of knew, all right, they're going to have to do it again. It's a one-possession game. Defense going to have to make a play. Once again, we didn't think we'd be here at 21-7, 28-14, but yes, we are going to need one more defensive sort of, highlight play in the final seconds.
And it all goes back, in kind of my opinion, to another trigger point. I'm sorry, Josh, warning. The inability to put a team away when you have the momentum, you're up 21-7, and then you give up the most inexplicable fake punt in maybe the history of Oklahoma football. There was nobody within 25 yards of the guy.
I rewatched it. There was only one player. It was Jackson Sumlin was the only guy that realized what was going on.
He's the only guy that saw it, and he deserves credit because he did see it. But he's the only dude that responded.
But it's Jackson Sumlin versus 10 other guys trying to get to the punter. Right? They had no shot.
That was closer to being a touchdown than OU stopping it.
Yeah. I wondered if anybody was ever going to turn around.
Guys, I realize
the crazy part about all of it, they don't even return the fucking punt anyways. So what are they doing running back there to set something up?
For the first time this season.
I admit in my initial rage, that didn't even cross my mind. And then I was like, what? You're absolutely – I heard you guys talking about in the postgame, and I'm like, they're exactly right. Like, there's no – why are you trying to set something up when they're – I mean, guys, what would you say? In the mathematical probabilities, in that scenario, it's got to be better than 50% chance that Matt Campbell's running a fake punt there.
I mean,
like, there's no way that's not a consideration.
And not to mention, Josh, a team that has already proven that they're willing to go for it on 4th down, or at least kind of go – a little bit outside the box. I mean, they were going for it on 4th and 1 from their own 19 in the second quarter.
I mean, guys, this Iowa State team
punt returner for the first time this season. So this is the perfect time, right?
That's up there with the Tyreek Hill repunt for me. Like, that is inexcusably bad. And I think it's worth. I have found in my time excuses for the Tyreek Hill thing. I can find no reason why there's no scenario when that should have happened. I mean, if they make a great play and you get beat, okay, fine. But to not be prepared for what was clear. I mean, guys, this isn't one of those deals where like, oh, my girlfriend, she was calling the plays. No, legitimately, people that don't know football that well can do the math and say, well, they need to keep the ball here. Like they've got to go try to find something. They're not going to have that many more possessions. Like it wasn't hard to foresee.
Did he go like 40 yards, because he's 14 yards back when he gets the snap. Did he go like 40 yards of not being touched?
I think it was a 17-yard gain. He was 14. I'd have to go back and look at the play-by-play. It's a lot of work.
Something that I asked Bob this morning, and we literally could not think of it. Has Lincoln Riley ever faked a punt or a field goal since taking over? I don't think that he has. I don't think Oklahoma has run a fake field goal or punt under Lincoln Riley.
Well, the most famous one I can think of happened in Stillwater, so maybe it's the perfect time. I mean, not of his, but the most famous field goal I can think of was.
That's how it came out. We were talking about the green to Honeycutt. I don't think that he has. Now, you could argue that they really haven't been in positions where they've needed to.
Sure.
But I thought it was kind of interesting. Maybe they throw something. Like, I think to win this game, it's kind of like 2013. It's kind of like 2015. They're going to need a big play in special teams somehow, some way. I don't know if it's a Michael Turk flip the field type punt. Gabe Burkich has to pull his head out of his ass.
Here's my theory what we need to do for Gabe Burkich. We need to find that shoe that he kicked the burrito with. We need to shred edible portions of it that are not going to harm him, and he has to put that shoe in a burrito and then eat it, or pieces of that shoe. I think that's a way to take the curse off the leg.
I think killing Zach Schmidt would be a better idea. Executing a walk-on kicker. Sorry, I apologize, Zach.
I don't think anybody would object to killing Zach Smith.
Was it Smith? Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were talking the walk-on kicker.
I thought you were talking the Ohio State coach. Okay, never mind.
That's what I thought Eddie was talking about. Was Schmidt.
I am. That's who I am talking about.
Okay.
I'd be much more okay with the other, but whatever.
No, I mean that's the thing.
That would hurt dildo cells in Columbus.
Gabe Burkich. I mean, if they're going to win this game, he cannot miss a field goal because he's going to have to kick some field goals. They're going to stall at some point in this game. They're going to be held out of the end zone. So he's going to have to make field goals, which I think he can do. I mean, still, I said it this morning. I'll say it again. Still, the greatest kicker in the history of OU football. Cannot be argued. Those are the facts.
Weather doesn't look like it'll be a factor either. Wind or cold, nothing.
By the way, OSU's got a pretty good kicker, too. I mean, the thing about this game is, you think that there is this advantage for Oklahoma's defensive line because their offensive line is banged up, but then you have Oklahoma's offensive line. I don't think Andrew Rame's going to play in this game. And then, Anton Harrison, what's his status? I know Gabe has thrown it out there about, or apparently you guys told me Gabe threw it out there on their pod about, Eric Swinson starting.
Yeah, left tackle, possibly, in place of Anton.
Inside, that makes sense to me. And we talked about it a little bit in our group chat. I can get there because Oklahoma State has some interior guys that are kind of more power than speed. But the way Oklahoma State likes to bring pressure and their edge guys being a little smaller, a little more athletic types, that's a tricky matchup. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying I've got to see it. Because to me, if Anton Harrison's had any redeeming quality this year, it's been pass protection. I know everybody will say, oh, well, what about the end zone last year? Yes, bad, no doubt. But by and large, he has probably been one of OU's best pass protectors.
All right, calling a little timeout here for Dead Soxy, because Dead Soxy is not going to be out of the loop when it comes to big-time Black Friday deals, and they've got one going right now. They're running a buy one, get one from now until the 29th. Use the code BOGO, B-O-G-O, to redeem. That's kind of hard to say. Must put both items in your cart before you check out. So put 2 items in your cart, you pay for one, you get the other one free. Applies to all items on the website, bundles and individual socks. But there's actually a catch here. There's only one BOGO per transaction. So if you can scam the system. They are encouraging this. Just don't put 6 things in your cart and think that you're only going to have to pay for 3 of them. You're going to have to do separate transactions. So if you want to buy 3 and get 3 free, that means you put 2 in the cart 3 times. That's right. Only one BOGO per transaction. Helpful tips on the website as well. Use the code for an unlimited number of transactions. So unlimited BOGOs. Load up your sock wardrobe for the year. It's an incredible offer from Dead Soxy from now until the 29th. Remember, use that promo code BOGO, B-O-G-O. And as always, stay Soxy. Here's another question for you, because I think this is, obviously Oklahoma State, they need Jaylen Warren to run in order for that offense to be effective. But
was he hurt or were they just resting him?
I don't know, because Dominic Richardson had like 20 carries and he had like 12 or something.
I think it was maybe a little bit of both, but more rest than injury, if that makes sense, Bob.
Yep.
But here's my question. So Spencer Sanders, even though he can run the football, they don't design their offense around it. And I'm looking at that Baylor game and how many, I'm sure they looked at it, how many problems Gary Giff, gave them in the run game. Is Spencer Sanders at Gary Bohannon's level as far as elusive runner, speedy runner? Josh, I'll let you field that one.
Sorry, you caught me. What are we talking about? God, do we have to do the? Can I just say Bohannon? I can't keep it friggin' straight. I'm terrible. I
think it's Gary.
Don't change the subject that you weren't listening, Josh.
I got caught.
Okay, I heard Bohannon. What can I say? What can I say?
I got to scream something.
Could cough it up.
I think that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think that he's elusive enough to cause you problems. I don't think that he's as fast as Bohannon, though. No.
Well, he is now. I mean, after Bohannon shredded his hamstring.
Sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that largely because guys, I don't think I gave Bohannon enough credit.
When
I went back and watched that Baylor game,
I mean,
there were angles he was outrunning.
I rightfully, questioned his passing accuracy, and he's a terrible passer. Mm-hmm. But he's a way better athlete than I thought he was.
Agreed. Because there was one, I think Asamoah either had an angle or was pretty square on him, and he beat him to the corner. It was on that touchdown run in the fourth. And it was like, whoa, okay. I didn't think he could do it like that. I knew he was athletic, but it surprised me a couple of times.
And I don't know that OSU would design their game plan around him. I'm just openly wondering, like, can he beat you with his legs? And I don't think he can the way Bohannon beat OU.
No. But it's a double-edged sword because to me, I think he could cause OU some harm. At the same time, the more the ball is in Spencer Sanders' hands, the better it is for Oklahoma, in my opinion. So, like, it's kind of I don't know where you come out on that because he can hurt you, but I feel like if you put too much of the game on Spencer Sanders, kind of like we were saying, OU's not going to win this game, Caleb Williams dropping back 40 times. Same deal with Spencer Sanders. That's not how OSU wins this game.
No, I mean, I really do think both offenses are going to struggle at times.
Agreed.
It's just who struggles the least.
I don't think that we're going to look up, though, and it's going to be that 10-7 game that I think a lot of people expect either. I think there will be some
low
points.
20s.
Maybe the defense scores a couple points, a couple touchdowns on each side. I really don't know. I just I kind of like the over in the game if I had to really choose a side. I think it's at 49, 50 and a half, something like that.
I think it's 1st to 24 wins it.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. It's like I said,
it's the little things though for me. Like in the grand scheme of things, I just don't trust OU enough to be able to say they're not going to – I don't trust OU enough to say that Perrin Winfrey's not going to throw a football into the stands. Like, what is that?
Well, I would say this. If OSU gets to 24, they win it. There's an update on my projection.
If I get
think OU can get to 24.
If I can get the ceiling of both teams, I pick Oklahoma. There's no question. Oklahoma should be the better team.
It's just like you said. I mean, it's like we see it every year. We've seen it play out other years. It's like, yes, we're all impressed with Oklahoma State's defense. None of us are saying that they're not good. But when you break it down talent to talent, they don't have a Nick Bonito, just talent-wise. They don't have a Perrion Winfrey, just talent-wise. I mean, you look at receiver, like they don't have the receivers that OU has, yet Tay Martin could easily be the leading receiver in this game on both sides. So it's like this is the charge for OU. Like, can you get those athletes to deliver a maximum performance together that shows that you have the better players, even though they have a better team overall, especially on the defensive side?
Some of the numbers that Oklahoma State's put up defensively, just like whether it be the 20 different players have recorded a sack for them. You add in the age thing. It's just kind of unbelievable. But at the end of the day, OU has better athletes. I think that's a pretty well-known fact. I'm at the point where I can't trust them because it's the 12th game of the season and we've been waiting for this thing to come together all season. I just feel like the joke's kind of on us that they're just all of a sudden going to flip a switch.
Yeah, you're waiting for that moment.
They're not close, Lincoln. They're not.
They stop them on third down, but they're the penalty. Or they have a bust that, just comes out of nowhere somewhere in the secondary. And it's just like, that's what happens. They haven't played a perfect game. It wasn't about to start tonight.
I choose to hope.
Like I said,
I choose hope. I choose life.
You choose hope.
I feel like
yes.
I feel like that's what it is. Like you've got to, like OSU knows these things about themselves. While OU has to hope these things come to pass.
I don't know if you guys know this. I'm an NIL dad now, so I'm a little helicopter. Very upset at Pro Football Focus for not recognizing that Isaiah had 2 sacks in the last game and only credited him with 1. Bunch of fucking idiots.
Well, after viewing their
really
defensive ratings,
I just I had NIL dad it there.
I kind of feel that way after watching the defensive rankings last week. That I don't know how they watched that tape of Jalen Redmond and had him in like the 60s. What are we talking about here? Like that dude was everywhere.
Have, like Key Lawrence in the 80s.
Yeah, Key Lawrence went in the 80s. He was like 77.4.
And I think
there was only like 2 defensive players in the 70s. Yeah.
Who had like 17 snaps or something.
I think Delaren Turner-Yell was in the low 60s. No, Pat Fields was in the 70s. It was Isaiah, Pat, and Key Lawrence. Those were the 3 players that scored above 70.
No, I don't think Isaiah did. He was way down.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Isaiah Coe. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Isaiah was confusing. Yeah.
That is true.
Turner-Yell he's missing too many of those tackles. I'm sure that's what knocking him.
He dives at people. Yeah. And he's in situations where he could body them up if he just took a couple of steps. But it's like it's like the guy that tries to jump in for the fish before it gets to the shore. It's like it is so weird. It's just like, dude, you can make that tackle. Like you're like diving for ground balls out in center field when they're just can of corns, as they would say.
He feels like the guy that finally realized, like, I'm much smaller than a lot of the guys I'm hitting. I'm going to start making some business decisions out here. Like, I'm gonna stay away from hitting the upper body and trying to go toe to toe with a guy that's got 30 pounds on me. I'm not going to hit Breece Hall head up. I'm going to play a game here and stay on the field. And you wonder if that injury early in the year kind of put that in his mind a little bit. But again, I mean, I don't want it all to sound like I'm down on where I think he's playing great football.
But I would understand why the PFF grade would go low if they didn't like it.
Sure.
That's all
fair.
I don't know. I really don't care. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just wanted to point that out. He had 2 sacks. Not one.
Let's insurrect the PFF's offices. Let's go up there. Let's cause a little. Bowie's not in the Big 12 championship game. Let's go cause a little scene.
We're gonna have some free time next week if that's the case.
Man,
can you imagine that? I've never ever considered not being busy at work for next weekend. Ever. The entire season.
Well, yeah, that's awesome for you guys. I'm going to be trying to track OU going to all over the friggin' country, catching up with recruits a week earlier. Okay, I'm used to having one more week where all the other recruiting reporters are like, man, they're everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, they're in Norman. They're all in Norman. I know exactly where they are.
Well, might be doing a coaching search as well, so you never know.
Oh,
I mean, we got to be prepared. Got to be ready. I mean, planes leaving to Baton Rouge like first thing Sunday morning, right?
Anyway, Baylor loses to Tech without Bo Hannon at quarterback.
I don't think so.
I watched that Kansas State game. Their backup was not bad.
He played really well.
I was surprised that they went up to Manhattan and won.
That was impressive. That Eddie, he has a good word for it, gritty. That was a gritty win just to kind of go up there and take care of business.
Kind of a great example of what you see is what you get with that Dave Aranda squad. It's amazing. I think Tram wrote about it maybe the week of the OU Baylor game. It's amazing that they've been able to keep their head above water in the hiring carousels that they've had to go through post Art Briles. I mean, Matt Rule was 100%. A home run. Dave Aranda has been incredible. Just the fact that they've been able to kind of keep that thing together.
Especially after Jim Grobe.
Gosh, Jim Grobe. All-timer not acting like he didn't know who Sean Oakman was.
Yeah.
He's the biggest guy in your locker room.
Who was the guy that...
I mean, maybe Tech pulls one out of their ass, but I'd be pretty surprised.
John L. Smith or Jim Grobe for obscure bad situation interim coach. I don't know which one.
Jim
Both
Grobe,
pretty bad.
sure.
John L.
Nobody was ever going to win in that situation.
Yeah. John L., though, just a Michigan State legend. I mean, can't ever lose sight of that.
John L. Smith always reminds me, some reason, of Bobby Petrino. I feel like those two are connected.
Well, I mean, due to that change, they were. Due to one motorcycle ride.
If they were still around, they could probably get a 10-year contract. Everybody else is
God.
Everyone else is.
If somebody is coming after your coach, I guess the initial reaction is give him a 10-year contract extension. That's insane.
James Franklin. How does he, with the season they're having, following the season they had last year, get a 10-year extension? How does that happen? I think Franklin's a fine coach. I do. But you needed to give him 10 years? You're that worried about losing James Franklin?
They are now 10-11 in the last 2 years. Now, 2020 is a little bit awkward because of COVID. I understand that. They went 4-5. He is also 0-9 against AP top 10 teams since 2016. And he just got a 10-year extension worth $80 million up front, or guaranteed.
His hallmark, he plays Ohio State tough.
Yeah, that's about what he does.
I mean, they play Ohio State tough every friggin' year. I don't know how they do it. Nobody else can seem to do it. But, yeah, they beat them like once a decade. But, you know, they play them tough, and they have really cool whiteout games. But I just don't quite – I don't understand the fervor. Mel Tucker, okay, he's in the middle of a great year, really kind of turning things around. I still wouldn't have given him what they're reportedly giving him. But, like, I can at least get my head there. I kind of understand what they're thinking. James Franklin? Like, don't you kind of know what he is?
I'm going to tell you why he got that deal. And I don't even have to look it up. Because I'm pretty sure I know this is true. 2 words. Jimmy Sexton.
Oh, Jimmy Sexton is going to own Pappy Winkle when this thing's all said and done. He's rolling in cash. He's like the scene out of Breaking Bad when they're laying in the garage or whatever with all that money.
The storage unit.
Or the storage unit, yeah. You know who the big winner out of all this is, though, right? Ryan Day. Mel Tucker's making $95 million. James Franklin's making $80 million. Yep. And Ryan Day's making like 6.6 this year. You think he's getting ready to have a big payday?
I mean, Lincoln Riley's getting ready to make $12 million at LSU.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Let's
what else do we have to talk about?
I mean, there's nothing really to talk about as far as like in my world, but there are people in Baton Rouge that are convinced it's happening.
Still, yes.
There were people at Florida State that were convinced that Bob Stoops was happening. This is where we are now.
Media people that I feel like
should
have
be
a decent
better.
Standing.
Yeah, they should be smarter than this.
The idea that LSU, whoever, is going to pay Lincoln Riley or anybody else $12 million, I just can't get there.
Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the only coach that you would pay $12 million to, or that you should.
That's almost $3.5 million more than Nick Saban's making this year.
Guys, I can tell you, and you guys know, like, I have some familiarity with that program, kind of more than the average person. there is a feeling, I mean, and I know every school has this, but I've never seen people from the inside so willing to voice it to those who are not. They think they're different than everybody. Like, the passion for LSU is different than everybody else. This is different than about LSU than everybody else. I'm like, no, you're a great football program with a big-ass fan base. Like, you're just like everybody else. Like, I know you think it's different, but it's not different. And I think it floods in to everything they do. Like, it's not crazy town like, another SEC West rival, but it is definitely like we love our team more. We love football more. Like, they just think they're different somehow, and I've never really been able to either put it into words or understand it.
I mean, it's just a Cajun A&M, isn't it?
There's some. I mean, that's obviously who I'm poking at, but I mean, there's some of that, yeah.
Not to mention,
no creepy ass traditions.
It's still a school that is firing a quote unquote, and I'm stealing a line from Bruce Feldman. They're firing a guy that was one of them 2 years after he won a national championship. Now, I understand that a little bit of that is his doing because he was seemingly fucking anything that's walking around Baton Rouge. But at the same time, I think that there's going to be coaches that look at that situation and almost feel like it's hard to sign up for, knowing you could win a national championship and still be given a pink slip in less than 2 years.
Yeah, it's the most pro job there is in college. Just in terms of how they treat their coaches. Like, there's no reverence for a guy that wins a national. I think Nick Saban kind of broke them a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So nobody's taking it seriously still. We're still all on the same page.
I mean, would any of us say the chances are above 5%?
I mean, Bruce Feldman has come out now twice and said there's nothing to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna
and none of us are
contacted Baton Rouge people like crazy. I know all four of us have. It's been nuts.
It's because you have these damn.
I've been very nice about it. I'm sorry, dude. Like, there's nobody up here that's taking anything seriously right now. As much as you can try and talk yourself into it, there's just nothing that adds up. And even I look into even the Malachi Nelson stuff, and I know that I'm making fun of Dennis Dodd right now for saying that Luke Fickell's telling players that he's not going anywhere. I don't think that Lincoln Riley would tell a Malachi Nelson, but Malachi Nelson was just into Norman last weekend. By all accounts, it seems like everything went really well. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing that would indicate Lincoln Riley is looking to leave.
I'm not sure Lincoln would tell his family.
You're true. That's true. And that's I think that's the only sliver of, and I kind of go, oh, yeah, I mean, maybe when you do say something like that, Kerry, and it's like, no, none of us really know Lincoln. None of us really know what he wants.
He's not confiding anything into anyone.
But I did think it was interesting on his coach's show last night. They give him the, what are you thankful for? I think Toby asked, and obviously the first thing that comes out of his mouth, thankful for being the head coach at the University of Oklahoma. I thought I got a kick out of that, knowing all the rumors that are out there right now.
I think so. That'd be a hell of a troll if he then did turn around and was like, and I'm out. Like that. I mean, you want to create some bad blood in future SEC matchups.
I mean, you can only judge someone by their actions, and I'm as guilty as anyone. We judge Lincoln Riley harshly because he's not good with the media and he doesn't care about the media. But to do that, I mean, I can get by, okay, he's got a bunch of responsibilities. He doesn't want the distractions. He's trying to limit it as much as possible. He doesn't trust his player to not say something that doesn't cause him headaches. All that. I get where coaches are coming from on that. But if you surprise even the people that work for you by just pulling a Baltimore Colts and just moving in the middle of the night, you're a bad person. And I don't think Lincoln Riley's a bad person as much as we have issues with him over all our media crap. I don't think he's a bad person.
And I don't either.
100%. No, nothing like that.
And at the end of the day, it's just and Homer take incoming, but it's just oh, you are LSU. Where do you want to work? Come on.
New Orleans is where you want to visit, not where you want to live.
I can make the case for LSU. I can. I don't think it's a great fit for him. Like, there are coaches where I'm like, yeah, you choose LSU over OU. Get it. No problem. I don't think he's that guy.
I don't even know what Baton Rouge is really like as a town, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's pretty damn crowded right now.
I've only seen it from that bridge. I mean, that's, you see the stadium from the bridge when you're going over it. Was that I-10 or whatever?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I guess we'll find out soon enough.
I'll tell you this. I pledge this right now. I don't know if I can pledge this, but I will make every effort. If Lincoln Riley leaves to go to LSU, I will be there for his opening press conference at LSU.
I like it.
I thought you were going to say, like, he burned down his new house or something. Something cool.
And he does have a new house, too. Like a brand new house that just finished.
Supposedly it's beautiful. So
would you find it more like, okay, and I know, we knew about the Bob thing a little bit in advance and that kind of thing. Would this surprise you more than that did?
Yes.
It would for
Absolutely.
me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I said that on a Baton Rouge radio station last week. I would be more surprised if Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma right now than I would back in June when we found out, like, that Thursday morning when Bob retired. 100%. It just doesn't make sense.
And again, with Bob, there were people who knew. There's nobody talking about this. I mean, like, I get that you want to keep it quiet. There were plenty of people that didn't know that you feel
Eddie
like
can
would.
tell you this. He got tipped off about it, like, what was it, probably 2 weeks before it actually happened, Eddie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a month before that somebody was running their mouth out at Belmar, and I got a text message. But at the time, like way back in 2016, is like you would hear stuff, and there was stuff that you just would dismiss. Nowadays, and I think that's why stuff like this lingers.
Well, it's because you have so many, kind of charlatans out there that are just willing to just keep pushing this narrative forward, regardless if it's true. Not like that stuff didn't exist back then. Now you've got all these YouTube guys and podcasters that are just looking for attention, and they know they're going to get it. It's just like, I mean, it's like I said, the Florida State thing started us down an entirely new 100%. Path with all this stuff. It was that stupid lady that, threw it out there that you could tell she was like some local Tallahassee reporter on like ABC or something.
That was literally a news director at a news station in Tallahassee. To run with something like that? Now, keep in mind, the fan bases that we're talking about combined with, there's a reason why these programs keep cycling coaches in and out. And it's because of these fan bases.
Well, I mean, you can kind of see it now. Like, there is that fringe that's just like, I'm done with Lincoln Riley.
Sure.
He's had his say.
And by the way, they're 10-1.
I mean, even the offensive coordinator thing to me, that's just like a reach.
100%.
I might, we'll see. I do think that a lot of the offensive problems have been a product of playing a freshman. I mean, I get that. But there are moments where it's just like, maybe you could take some stuff off of his plate.
Well, and
it is funny to say that, and we're, 2 years removed from everybody declaring that Lincoln Riley is maybe the best offensive coordinator and play caller to ever literally ever do it.
And I'm not saying that I don't get why people are saying that. I do, because you look at Spencer Rattler, like, why didn't he develop more? And I think that's probably a Spencer Rattler thing. I mean, you look at the breadcrumbs, Bob, like you go back and you think about the things that Lincoln said about how Spencer needed to keep progressing during the offseason and he needed to push and all this stuff. It was him basically telling us, I don't know if he wants it bad enough.
Yeah, or that he wasn't the guy that we thought he would be just yet. He needed to have that dog in him to get to that next level. For whatever reason, it just never happened. Either Spencer's not wired that way, or he attempted to and he couldn't rally the locker room. Maybe he doesn't have the locker room wasn't in full support of him, just as the person, the player as he is. But For whatever reason, it just never translated. And you're right. I mean, I think we just thought that, he's just trying to, not talk up Spencer, but maybe he was just being, matter of fact, honest. This guy isn't there yet, so you can stop pushing that narrative.
Well, and then you have Caleb Williams come out and look so good, and now he, I think regressed is too strong a word, but he's definitely going through some growing pains. And so I think it's natural for people to be like, okay, put these two things together. What has happened with Lincoln Riley, the offensive genius that did nothing but produce first-round draft picks? Like, something has changed here. It must be this. I mean, everybody's just trying to figure out how to fix it. That's what what people do. I mean, that's just natural.
Sure. Is it unfair to also point, and it just made me think of this when you say what has changed? They don't have a D.D. Westbrook. They don't have a Marquise Brown. They don't have even going back to Sterling Shepard with Baker early. The H-back unit has not been great. I mean, some of their
you
best
can say that, Eddie, but
dump-offs to Jeremiah Hall.
You can say that, Eddie, but we know Marvin Mims is a stud, and they haven't utilized him.
We know Mario Williams
Marvin Mims
is going to stretch the field. Just hasn't been done.
How much is that on them, though? I've been very underwhelmed with OU's receiver play this year.
Agreed. I mean, guys, think about some of the plays. I don't disagree. There have been times when Mims should have had more chances and had more plays because he was open,
Completely fair, Josh.
There have also been plays that I think Sterling Shepard would have made, D.D. Westbrook would have made, CeeDee Lamb certainly would have made. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player. He's not of that level. I don't think he's shown us anything to tell me he's that kind of dude. He's not a guy I think, one great season, he's a first rounder. I don't see that for him.
I mean, look, there are clearly some issues with receivers working their way through zone coverages and getting open. Like, we've seen that time and time again. Yep. Did you see the I think it was one of my favorites, Brian Baldinger, breaking down that New York Giants pass play where three guys just ran into each other in the middle of the field? I mean, sometimes I feel like that's what we're watching with OU's receivers trying to break zone coverage. It's like they just run to their guy and just stop.
I mean, and you think of two offensive coordinators you think of in similar veins, Jason Garrett and Lincoln Riley. Almost the same people, I mean, really, when you think about it.
At least Jason Garrett's going to be around his family this Thanksgiving.
He gets to spend the holidays with the family. That is important. That's really nice. Oh, Eddie
was like, God damn it. He's going to be around here. What were you saying, Josh? I'm sorry.
No. I mean, we're a day before Thanksgiving. Well, I'm sure we'll get into some Thanksgiving conversation, but I have seen there is some trouble in paradise.
We got some green bean casserole.
I think Baker needs to focus on making the playoffs and not stop talking shit about green bean casserole. How about that?
Oh, Baker's talking shit on green bean casserole?
I guess he said that it's the most overrated Thanksgiving side dish, which is
crap.
Just,
a fractured relationship just got worse.
This is after I spent a morning saying that the Browns were going to go win in Baltimore this weekend. Like, I retract my statements now.
While saying that he couldn't come up with an underrated side dish because he loves them all. So not only is it overrated, he loves
everything but green bean casserole.
It's a direct shot. It's a direct shot, is what it is.
This aggression cannot stand.
Maybe you're on
man.
His list now, and you don't know. He's like your new Patrick Fields.
Well, you did disavow him a few weeks ago.
I mean, come on. I'm not on Patrick Fields' list. He just blocked me on Twitter. I don't know why. I think it's probably because I said I'm sick of watching him play football. I stand by that, too.
Patrick Fields confirmed unofficial 40 listener.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
We'll see. We'll see if he buys a hat or not.
Shit dishes like macaroni and cheese off the hook. I mean, this is unbelievable.
I got no problem with a good mac and cheese, but I don't need it during Thanksgiving. I get that anytime.
No, I'm the same. I'm the same way.
That's insanity.
And you know what? I'll take it a step further. I didn't know that mac and cheese was a thing on Thanksgiving.
I've never known it to be that.
It is pretty, when you have a lot of kids. Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a good go-to.
Absolutely.
It's easy. It's something you know they'll
Are we
eat.
talking like
Now-
just the Kraft mac and cheese?
No.
See, it shouldn't be, but it sometimes turns into it because my kids won't eat fancy mac and cheese. They got no interest in it. Now I give them that warmed up bowl of mac and cheese. They treat that like it's gold. But a nice, good mac and cheese with like some Parmesan and Gruyere and all these great cheeses. Nope, no interest in that. It's madness.
I think we're going to Cracker Barrel tomorrow.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Shut up.
No.
Are you serious?
Yes.
You're not.
Who is going to Cracker Barrel tomorrow?
The fam in Dallas.
Okay. I was like, Carrie, if you were going to the freaking Cracker Barrel by yourself, you're driving to Houston, you can come you can come do it with the family. Come be a McQuistion for a day.
No, I'm driving down to Dallas.
Okay.
And
Okay, fair
my
enough.
parents don't want to cook out, and
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, and you know what? I was thinking when you said Cracker Barrel, I automatically was thinking Golden Corral.
Yeah, that would be. Oh boy.
See, I think that's open too. I think Cracker Barrel and Golden Corral are both open on
Don't
Thursday.
go to Golden Corral, okay?
Oh.
Just promise me that.
I think I would have an allergic reaction just by stepping into that place. Like ever since the chocolate fountain was introduced, I'd never have wanted to ever go back.
If I'm going to do a buffet on Thanksgiving, I'm really going to commit. I'm going Chinese buffet. We're going completely off the reservation. We're going to get crazy with it.
I did have a Chinese food craving early this morning, which is weird. I might be pregnant.
You have some. I mean, and I'm the sex offender.
How was me finally getting pregnant as a man sex offensive?
I don't know.
You never saw Twins, did you, Eddie? You know, that's a American classic with Danny DeVito and not Twins.
Well, I did it, but I
Was
know
it
what you're talking
No,
about.
it was
Junior,
twins.
John.
Junior. It was Junior. You're right. Sorry, I got my Arnold
you talking
Schwarzenegger
about?
greats mixed up.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. That movie was not twins.
That was
Not when
Twins.
he's
Oh, okay.
pregnant.
But yeah,
Oh,
Bob's
no,
right.
it
The
was-
one
they
where
were
he's
just-
pregnant
yeah,
is
okay.
Bob's right. That was Junior.
Okay, I forgot Arnold Schwarzenegger had a movie where he's pregnant.
He's trying to show the softer side.
Well, he should have just stopped at Kindergarten Cop.
Like an American classic.
He was never
as
going to
well.
beat that.
Yep. That's
Uma.
the bad guy in that movie still makes me a little uncomfortable. Like just watching that movie, like like things that scared you as a kid, you're like, oh, that's stupid. I'm like, no, I still don't like that dude. He was a good bad guy.
Wasn't he the guy that the kid hired to be his bodyguard? That movie, My Bodyguard, like it was a long time ago. Like you were probably a kid when that came out. I think I was a kid.
I'd fix it. I don't even
Colin?
recognize that name.
It's an all-time villain name too. Colin Crisp.
That's good. I see My Bodyguard. Adam Baldwin? That can't be who you're talking about.
I don't know. It's
Good.
been a long time.
Good podcasting here. Let's all search.
Yep. We're on a roll.
What now? How is Pearl doing? Does she understand Thanksgiving or Christmas yet?
Oh, we're gonna find out next month about Christmas, but she's just like her daddy, so she's a picky eater. It's gonna be interesting. It's bad. This is revenge on me for being a picky eater for all.
Well,
all
you
those
kind of
years.
had to become a picky eater though, because your
Were
stomach
you always
tried
that
to
way?
explode on you.
Yeah, I was always that way, and then I've just
Okay.
taken it to another level that's even more ridiculous.
I don't even want to know more.
If
I don't
she
want to know
eats
more.
turkey tomorrow, it is a win.
Will you eat
Yes.
turkey?
Yeah, I love
Okay.
turkey. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Bob, you would. God, you'd love turkey. That's brand, Bob. I think Thanksgiving's the only meal of the year for me where the meat is completely unimportant. I'm all about the sides.
I'm about the perfect bite. I need potato, dressing, turkey, gravy,
Okay,
and
I
then
thought-
follow and chase it with a roll.
Okay, I thought you were going to throw cranberry on there,
No.
and that was going to be.
I'm not a
too
cranberry
much.
guy. Never have been.
Yeah, that's gross. Did you guys see this thing in Utah, the pickle and cranberry pie thing?
Yes.
I saw your tweet about it. Yes.
I can see why God hates Mormons.
That's horrible. Oh. Like chew into cranberry and then get the crunch of the pill.
It's disgusting.
Nope. That's a
I
horrible
don't even like
mouthfeel
pickles to
situation.
begin with, so of course I'm going to hate it.
Oh, I love a pickle, but no, I don't think there's anything you could put with cranberry that I'd be like, okay, now I'm kind of interested. Like
I don't
cranberry
even
is
like
just nasty.
Like, do people really get when they get turkey? Is anybody loading up on cranberry anyways?
Oh, 100%.
I don't. Oh, you do? You like?
No,
cranberry?
not me. I hate it. I think it's gross.
Okay.
My mother-in-law, like literally, she's the only one that will eat it and will make herself an entire like cranberry salad thing that she loves.
Since I was a kid, my mom would. She's put the cranberry from a can on the table.
And I know people, that's the only way they'll eat it. They want that canned cranberry thing. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know the difference, whatever, but that's just not a taste I have any interest in.
Not for me.
It's like grapefruit.
I don't mind
Ugh.
cranberry juice.
See, I don't even like. Yeah, I'm out. I'm out on all things cranberry, except for the Cranberries. Great band.
Who would have thought of all of us, Eddie would be the one to go to the alt rock band of the 90s. Yeah, that's amazing.
They have some hits.
Oh, I don't disagree. I had a high school job
on a Friday night in Oklahoma City. You might hear some Cranberries.
I had one of my first bosses when I was in high school. He was like a cranberry obsessed guy. Like had the sticker on his car and all. Like he was real into the cranberries. And so when we'd be closing down, it's too much for me now.
I hate zombies so much.
Zombie. You know she's
now Linger. Yes, Linger's awesome.
You know she's
zombie.
The lead singer's dead now, right?
Yeah, pretty sure that's right. Yep.
Is that right?
She
She died during COVID or something. I don't think it was from COVID, but it was that time frame.
I think
wasn't
it was suicide.
No, yeah,
2018.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, I thought she had cancer or something. Damn.
Yeah, it's kind of that stuff was going around. Dolores O'Riordan
died by drowning due to alcohol intoxication in January of 2018.
What ended up happening to Michael Phelps?
God.
He's a good swimmer.
An outstanding.
He's more
swimmer.
of a marijuana guy than a beer guy or an alcohol guy.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so Josh, let's get into Chris McClellan because for those not on the website 24/7, they're just falling for that headline, Florida beats OU on In-State Star. I had plenty of friends like from out of state that were texting me like, how does OU lose out to Florida on a guy when they don't have a coach?
They don't. The most simple answer I could give, that didn't happen.
Yep.
And it's one of those deals where I want to walk lightly because I like Chris. He's a good kid. We've known him for a long time. Like it's not like that. But this happens a lot where you see, and we've seen it go in OU's favor when, OU beat Alabama for that guy. Not exactly.
Alabama called and told him he didn't have a spot anymore.
Yeah, the hats on the table are not always representative of reality. Let's put it that way.
I hate it when someone puts an OU hat on there just for a little clout, and then all your friends are like, "Oh, you didn't is OU going to get this kid? Man, these hats on the table." I'm like, "No, don't even watch."
Well,
hat science and baby,
guys,
shout out.
Almost always, if there is a hat announcement and there is one school that clearly sticks out from the rest, that school is probably not really involved. Like if it's Oklahoma, Tulsa, and Kansas State, Oklahoma wasn't a real option. He's choosing between Tulsa and Kansas State, and best of luck to him. Now, in this case, obviously, all elite schools were among the chosen hats. Basically, what had happened was over the past few weeks, and we've talked about it some on the pod, was there was still communication between Oklahoma and Chris McClellan, but it was a kind of a, time to either, shit or get off the pot was kind of what it came down to. And McClellan would give OU some indications like, I think I'm close. I think I'm ready to kind of make up my mind. And there was at one point he could have just committed. Fine. But as it went on, yes, but as time went on, and as we've talked about, his senior tape is not what everybody hoped it might be. I think there was a feeling for some on the staff that, Lincoln's going to have to sign off on this. They're going to have to decide, because I really think if he was from, Wichita or St. Louis or something, Oklahoma probably would have walked away. His senior tape is just not what you usually see from an OU signee. It's just not where it needs to be. Now, I think Chris has a lot of potential, but you would want to see a little more production than what he's putting on tape. So I think there was hey, you need to sit down and talk with Lincoln. You need to give him a call, and that call never happened. And it just kind of got put off and put off. Now, what I will say, Oklahoma handled this really wisely, because for those that don't know, Owasso's head coach, where Chris McClellan plays, is Bill Blankenship, one of the biggest names in the last 40 years of Oklahoma high school football. An absolute, Eddie Carey's exactly right, a legend of Oklahoma high school football. And they made sure they were in contact with him, let him know what was going on. So there couldn't be that narrative that we see sometimes of, you just didn't love this guy up. No, that's not what happened here. Oklahoma recruited him hard, recruited him fairly. And he just never could quite pull the trigger. And then at some point, OU said, we're not sure anymore. And finally, they just kind of said, okay, we're going to be done here, because I think there was a feeling that even if he picked Oklahoma, not everybody was going to be satisfied with that choice. And you might end up, and I know I've come with this name a couple of times, you might end up in a Ron Tatum situation where in a year he's in the portal anyway, because not everybody was on board with that decision. And not only are you trying to keep Chris McClellan on board, you're trying to keep some other people around him on board. And that's fine. Like I've said before, if you're Caleb Williams, fine, you'll deal with that. You're Adrian Peterson, fine, you'll deal with that. A guy that, like I said, you're having to explain away why his senior tape wasn't very good, that's a tougher sell for a coaching staff. So I think OU reached out, kind of let Blankenship and everybody know this is what's going on, this is why we're making this decision. And that way there was no hard feelings, no harm done. They're going to be fine to come back to Owasso anytime they want to. So I think that is basically the long and short of it. And I know people will be like, well, Oklahoma must have done something wrong. Ohio State had the same issues. There were a lot of people at Ohio State that were of the belief that he had silently committed to the Buckeyes when he took his official visit way back when, and just kind of kept waiting for him to make it official, go public. And it never happened. And the communication started to get shaky, and they had problems with that. And again, I don't know that this is of Chris's design, but whoever put this together, instead of going to Oklahoma or Ohio State, two of the 4 or 5 best programs in college football right now, he's going to a place that just fired its head coach and is not going to a bowl this year. And he doesn't even know who his coaching staff will be, or if they are going to honor his scholarship when that time comes. There were some poor choices made here.
That was going to be my question, is take OU out of the situation. What do you make of the decision in committing to a school that, I guess you just say, yeah, I'm jumping in now, and hopefully the new staff takes me.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's the thing. Because
what a gamble that is. Like, I talked to some people in Tulsa yesterday, and it was brought up to me, and it kind of makes a lot of sense. And now, granted, they might be in the same situation as Florida, but why wouldn't you just commit to a Tulsa or something and then give yourself some options in a way?
I'm kind of shocked he didn't reach out to Oklahoma State. With the way they're playing defense right now, the way they're recruiting in state, that makes a lot of sense. But I heard talk of, reaching out to Georgia. I've heard talk of several programs that, they tried to kind of open the door with again. And I didn't hear anything about Oklahoma State. And that's kind of my thing. It feels like perception and reality weren't really working together here. There was a feeling that this was a he had the same options in the same timeline as, say, Gentry Williams, and he didn't. He just didn't. And I don't think anybody ever adapted to, okay, this is changing. And now this is where you are when you can't see what's real and what's not.
We're efforting to get Bob back. He got booted off his internet because he's probably using that crappy company that I use. Here he comes. I know he was very concerned through text, Bob Przbillo joining us back now, because he was concerned that we were going to talk Marvin Jones Jr. without him.
Well, we got yelled at last week for not bringing him up.
Anytime I don't mention him right now, it's like, what's going wrong? It's not that. I mean, good Lord. Like, it's not that. Not every day is there interesting notes on any of these kids, much less a guy from Florida that doesn't talk to literally anyone.
So what's up with Marvin Jones
so there's
Jr.?
No update.
Okay.
What's up?
Okay. Oh, sorry. I this is where we got caught. I was like, okay, maybe Bob has a direction he wants to go.
Football account.
Yeah. He is up for.
Okay, I don't think anybody heard it. Something about his mom and the OU football account. I don't know.
Yeah,
that didn't come through.
Take us, Bob.
What? He's up for some award or something. She's just sort of tagging, saying, "Hey, vote for Marvin." And I guess the news is that she's only doing that with Florida State and the Sooners. So people are reading into it that those are the real two finalists.
Ooh.
Which is interesting because when I talk to certain sources, the belief is that it's OU and Alabama. And we always talk about, look at the consistent one. Which is the team that's always mentioned? And I'm not saying I'm there on Marvin Jones Jr. I'm not ready to pull the trigger. I haven't put a forecast in. But with each week that passes, usually as we get closer to signing day, you kind of get, that guy, he's starting to get a little hit and miss on the phone, or, this is happening or that's happening. You're not getting any of that here. And I know everybody says, well, his dad was a legend at Florida State and all that, and absolutely was. Probably one of my 3 or 4 favorite childhood football players. And
yeah, you were very mad when I asked who was Marvin Jones Sr.
I loved, because it was right around the same time as the program, and there's the whole Alvin Mack connection. I love Marvin Jones Jr. is just right down my age. He's perfect for my age group, and perfect for me that I didn't love a quarterback or a running back or a wide receiver. I loved an inside linebacker. That's very on brand.
So would he have played in that? What was it, in that Notre Dame game? Would he have been on that team when Notre Dame beat them?
In 93? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think he won the butt kiss in 94, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was 93. But either way. So yeah, he is up for an award. I believe it's a Miami-Dade player of the year type of thing. Up with some, with Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and another name that OU fans are familiar with. But when I talk to people, it seems to be moving in the opposite direction of OU's fading here. It feels like OU's just a little more confident and a little more confident and a little more confident. That's kind of what I keep picking up. And a big part of it is mom. And like I said, everybody kind of assumes, oh, dad's a legend at Florida State. I don't know where she falls on that. She's not a Florida State fan. She's not an alum. I believe she is a Miami alum. And I always thought that was kind of a funny combination. But I don't think she has the same love for Florida State that everyone kind of assumes is there for Marvin Jones Jr. So, and that's who she lives with. That's who she's around. So I think that's all a little interesting to follow. And I think Oklahoma has a very real chance here. I think there is, even with the kind of an indicator, was the visit of Jayshon Barham, the guy that I alluded to in last week's podcast that I wasn't ready to talk about. I don't know that everybody around Norman was super excited that news got out, because I think there is a feeling they're in a place with Marvin Jones Jr. that they don't want to do anything that upsets the apple cart. And if that tells you something there too, because if you're in panic mode where a lot of people tried to turn that when Barham just, when we got that news out there, everybody's like, well, that must mean no, that's not what that means. I think Oklahoma sees two really good players and maybe they could land both of them, and we can get into him in a little bit. But this is not a reaction to them being in trouble with Marvin Jones Jr. Oklahoma likes where they are, and from what I'm hearing, they've got good reason to.
By the way,
when it comes to Jones, okay, I think part of it is because he's the number one ranked recruit for on 3, and with rivals, he's what, in like the 70s. So is he closer to top 100 or to like the top 10?
He'd be closer to the top 10 for me. I think his tape is elite. He's one of those guys I just disagree with where Rivals has him. I've seen him live. Josh hates. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, again, print the damn T-shirt.
We're changing it now to Josh hates Rivals. Actually, I think we can get our contract. We probably better not do that.
We need to have one of those shirts where it's like Josh hates, and then it's just like OU slash through it, Rival slash through it, everything circled. Like whatever. Like Josh is willing to
like
wear
Oklahoma
that.
Versus everyone. We'll do a Josh versus everyone.
I can do that. I'm behind it. Yep, that is fair. But with I lost my whole train of thought. What were we talking about?
Marvin Jones ranking.
Oh, his ranking. Yeah, he is the thing. I kind of came in thinking he was a pure rush guy, but when I saw him in person, he's a bigger, more fluid athlete, kind of longer than I expected him to be. He's one of those guys. He could play rush. He could be competing with Clayton Smith. Or he could, turn into the heir apparent to Isaiah Thomas. I could see either case, but the bottom line is I don't see a lot of way he's not on the field next year. He has played elite competition. He knows what it looks like, and he is very, very good. So I think Oklahoma has every reason to feel good about what he could do if he can arrive, and I'm sure that's a part of what they're selling him. While Florida State's selling, the family and the connection, all those things, Oklahoma's saying, hey, we're really good. We're headed to the SEC, and you can come in and play for us very early on. Alabama's the other team in this. Alabama can't make that promise. They know what's there in front of them. They've already got a 5-star committed to the same position is it Jeremiah Alexander? I believe that's right. Something like that. So they're in very good shape already, as to where Oklahoma can say, hey man, it's there for you. Come take the spot. And I from what I can gather, it is working pretty well for them right now.
I was gonna
you want to move on
throw
to
in
the visitors of the weekend.
This is your segment, Bob. You own it.
Okay. All right, John. Well, let's go to the visitors of the weekend. Defensive flavor for sure. Anything that stands out in the immediate, or just another one of the things where we're just going to have to wait till signing day?
Honestly, somebody asked me, do you see any commitments before the end of the month? No. Do I see any commitments before signing day? Not really right now. That's kind of the nature of the beast when Oklahoma has so many commitments already, and the guys left are Rivals 100, 5 stars, Rivals 250. There's nobody on their board that's like the random 3-star. Like they're chasing big game. That's really what this is. And you talk about Devon Campbell. We talked about Marvin Jones Jr., Jayshon Barham now, Javonte Barnes. You run the list. There's just not a lot of guys that they can be like, well, you better jump on board or you're going to lose your spot. No, you don't play that game with these guys. They are living the opposite life of what I was talking about with Chris McClellan earlier. Like, they've got the tape. They know OU's got a need. OU's got a long-standing relationship. They're going to be involved through the course of this. But as far as some notable visitors, everything I've been told, Javonte Barnes went really well. Nothing seems to have changed. I still feel good about Oklahoma landing him. Now, what's going to be interesting is if he's one of these guys that signs quietly, or if he doesn't sign at all, because I know he wants to announce at the All-American game. So there's a lot of stuff that still kind of has to be worked out. But I like where OU is. Jayshon Barham is the interesting one. Talked to a few people. including some Penn State sources where I think some people had thought maybe he was leaning a little bit, that there was some real involvement there. And he's kind of one of Penn State's final guys in this class that they're chasing. So I get the impression that they're a little concerned about Oklahoma, that they think something, some movement has been made. But I don't, he's a tough kid to read because literally, I talked about Marvin Jones Jr. being quiet. Marvin Jones Jr. talks to people. J-Sean Barham doesn't talk to anybody. And it is very tough to gauge where he's at with anything. So I don't know what's going to happen, but Oklahoma has a chance there. There's no doubt about it.
And the junior college defensive lineman, Jeffrey Mba, I think that's how it's said.
Yeah, that's what I've been going with. Jeffrey just corrected.
Real quick before you get into him, Josh, I saw him on the sidelines last week, and I think that you alluded to this in the board chat. I legitimately thought I didn't know that he was a player. I thought he was a 30-year-old, father or brother of a player that was there.
That sounds no. It sounds like, because everybody I talked to was like, that's a good looking dude. Even people that are around players all the time were like, that's a dude right there. And he looks like $1 million. He's very explosive. I like his tape. What to me is going to be the question is if Oklahoma likes him or thinks they can get something better from the portal. Because like we talk about all the time, junior college ranks are a huge crapshoot, and he's even more so because he played 1 year of high school football and has now played 1 year of college football, of junior college football. He is a super unknown quantity, and a guy that he's from France. He came over as a senior in high school and played in Connecticut. So there's not even he played Texas or he played South Florida. You could kind of say he's seen some things. This is a guy that junior college football is easily the highest level of football he's played, and there's just not a lot of organization there. But I'm not convinced he's a take right now. I think they're going to watch and kind of see what happens. But there's no question. OU likes him. It's just a matter of, do they like him better than something they could find in the portal?
How big is
just real quick, as far as the defensive line stuff and recruiting goes, Josh and Bob, is it worrisome that you kind of fall back on the portal? Because you saw what happened in the running backs room, and I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the most healthy situation. I just it seems like whether it be McClellan and then Mba, is it Mba? Is that how you say his last name? It's it just seems like, do you keep kicking the can down the road, or eventually do you have to take a chance on somebody?
To me, Eddie, a guy that has his length, his measurables, runs like he does, that's a chance I can take. And then if we get something in the portal, okay, maybe we got to talk to one of our guys, and they're going to be headed to the portal. Sure. We've talked about this forever. Oklahoma too often wants to be the nice guy. We're not going to make the tough choices. We're not going to do – man, that's not the world we're living in. If these guys and the players have embraced NIL, and, this is the flip side of it. You want to be business, you want to act like a business happens. You're sometimes, man, we love you. We think the world of you. You can't help us. We need something more. We want you to go somewhere where you can play, you can be a difference maker, but it's not here. And sometimes you're going to have to just make those cutthroat decisions. And I get it. I know these kids. It's not fun. That's an awful thing. You don't want to have that conversation, but it is what it is. And, you're OU, if they want to get their roster, their 85-man roster, as strong as it possibly can be, you're going to have to start doing some of those things.
It's something I think that a lot of people have been wanting for a while.
Josh, how big is someone like Derek Moore, who just coincidentally has connections with both Jeffrey and Barham? Is he someone that you feel like you can go to get an accurate representation of where things really stand?
If you mean me, absolutely not. Derek Moore is impossible to reach. Now, if you mean OU, yeah, go to him and they can get a feel. And I think talking to a few people, I absolutely think Moore has been talking to Jayshon Barham. I think there is a connection there. I talked to Jeffrey Emba about it, and he knows Derek a little bit. Like they were together for a little while at St. Francis, but I don't get the impression that it's like that. Barham and Moore are pretty tight. They're friends. Like I think that could have a role in all of this. But coincidentally, I've got something in Woke today where we were kind of keeping track of the early enrollees. Huge news for Oklahoma that Derek Moore will be an early enrollment. So that's a huge win for Oklahoma to get a dude like he and Dindy are both going to be on campus in January. That's massive for a defensive line with all the turnover that it's looking at going into 2022. So kind of a side note to what we're talking about, but I really, if you could close with Barham and Jones Jr., I almost don't care what else happens. I mean, you want another offensive lineman, but you get those two along with what you already have with Moore and Dindy. Man, that's the makings of an SEC defensive line.
Is that
I
up?
think that'll wrap up. That'll wrap it up. That's all I got.
Except for your excellent basketball report that I'm sure Josh would love to listen to.
Real quick on recruiting, are we just basically in wait-and-see mode for some of the OK Preps kids? I guess when I say kids, I'm talking about Deshaun Brown and Gavin Freeman. Is that becoming more a pipe dream by the day, I guess, because there hasn't been a whole lot of inaction? Or is it more wait-and-see because OU season's not over yet?
And could Bedlam mean anything for Braylon?
For who?
Presley.
Braylon Presley.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or
I was
is
like,
that
I
officially
didn't.
done?
Yep.
Are we just discounting that? That's totally off the table.
Josh
That
checked
sounded
out.
like that's.
He thought we were done,
No.
so he checked out.
No, I heard Braylon like that. I mean, that should say something. That's how far he is from my mind. Like I know that's been around, and I know Oklahoma in a perfect world would probably like to take Braylon Presley. Like they like him a lot. There's no doubt about it. I just don't think. I mean, if you're having a question taking Jeffrey Emba or a portal guy or even Chris McClellan, you need to take Braylon Presley, who's basically Raleek Brown. Like I don't understand how you justify those numbers. That just doesn't make sense to me. Deshaun Brown is the one I still think is possible, but like I'm talking about, it's a sliding scale. As Marvin Jones Jr.'s chances go up, I think Deshaun Brown's chances recede. So it's kind of one of those things where, again, I'm taking Deshaun Brown. To me, that's one you go get, and again, you find a way to make that work because, guys, we can all name 4 or 5 guys on that defense that are not going to play a role for that defense that as of any consequence. Now, maybe Deshaun Brown won't either, but you don't know that yet. You won't know till you've got him there and you can work with him. And then maybe in 2 or 3 years, you're having the same conversation about somebody replacing his scholarship spot. But that's what I'm talking about. You've got to start making these tough decisions. And Deshaun Brown is too good. He's in state. And he's come to camp. He's done everything OU has asked of him, even including being patient through all of this. I feel like he deserves the reward. Deserves not what's important. I think he has earned the reward. And I think sure. I think it could be good for OU to have both he and Jones Jr. And if you can get Barham, hey, great. I just don't think you can have too many bodies along the front on either side of the ball.
Sure.
Especially when Lincoln leaves for LSU.
Yeah, I mean, you have to change your whole style of play.
Yeah, talk it into existence. What do you do? I think you just want to go down to the bayou.
I really don't. I really regret that I made that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that declaration.
Oh, you're gonna love that drive from New Orleans over to Baton Rouge. That's just nothing but swamp.
Well, at least you don't have to. I mean, if he's driving down, he won't have to go to New Orleans. He can just stop in Baton Rouge and turn around and come back.
Yeah,
you're gonna drive it down. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm not paying off that bet already. I'm welching.
I'll go.
You still have nothing to worry about.
I still don't have a hood on my car, so I've still got that to worry about.
Me and Bunky will go down.
I do kind of want Eddie to go just so, like, Lincoln's looking through the room and he locks eyes with Eddie. He's like, what the hell's he doing? Just the moment of, like, wait, he's here now?
It'd be somewhere in between the Michael Scott Office gif where he mouths, "I will kill you," and or like a scorned lover showing up at the wedding of an ex-lover.
If they gave me the microphone and asked me a question, you know what my question would be?
First off, how dare you?
That's too obvious.
Kaling, there you go.
Little office.
It would be, so you really are one, huh?
That would actually be pretty good content. I think I might have to go with you now to get that on video. Because that would be amazing.
Oh, my God. I didn't actually say it. I just, suddenly all those people that tried to get me canceled would be on my side.
Some things don't need to be said. They can just be intended.
I like I said, I think he's too good of a person to do that. I really do.
I agree with you. Bottom line, I agree with you. I don't even think, though, that it has anything to do with, like, being a good person.
Yeah, I just don't think he's that big of a jerk.
Professionally,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
I just don't think
they really are giving you $12 million, and if they are, that's insane money. I just don't believe
that. Just us talking about it, I feel bad for us even addressing it anymore. We've talked about it enough on the pod.
That's my fault for even bringing it up.
Let's give a man who is really working his butt off, is fun to watch just because it's so different. Let's give some time to Porter Moser.
Oh, I wanted him to tear down a net in Myrtle Beach, but for practice for the Final Four. But I guess that too many bad possessions in the second half.
Last few minutes was ugly, Bob. The early shots.
Porter Moser was just as surprised as the rest of us. And I think that's really the word to sort of use. Just not only the bad shots, but bad shots where you're not running the shot clock down. And from guys you wouldn't expect it. Jordan Goldwire, Tanner Grove, Mo Gibson, Elijah Harkless. Those are the guys that are going to have to carry the load in terms of the leadership, in terms of the crunch time minutes and who's going to execute. Those are the guys you're going to rely on time and time again. And I think we were just all just amazed at 64-58 with 5 minutes left. And Jordan Goldwire is supposed to be your calming presence that gets you through to the finish line and to win Myrtle Beach. And instead, it just imploded. And I think that's just sort of been what we've said about this team is once they all go into the role we think they're going to go, everything's going to be as smooth as we all believe it can be. But when you get to have a hiccup like that, it's like, wait a minute, Jordan Goldwire is supposed to be the guy that gets us through this moment. If he's not it, then where do we go? So establishing that voice, establishing that guard leadership, you can tell that's imperative for Moser and the staff to try to instill that throughout the course of this week and then, of course, going forward.
Would you say stock up the highest on that roster for you is C.J. Noland, or is it maybe Shagwa or whatever? I can't even remember how to pronounce it.
You got it. You're all right. It is Noland, though. It is. There's no doubt. I don't know if he cracks the starting lineup, but I think you get into another crunch time, last 5 minutes, C.J. Noland's going to be on the floor, and he's sort of earning that with every single game. And, some of those guys, they're already having some peaks and valleys, like Rick Asanza. He had one really good game, then he kind of dropped off. Bijan Cortez, Alston Mason, they've been up and down. So you need Shagwa, you need Jacob Groves, and Nolan. You need to be at least 8 deep and then see if you can stretch it beyond. That was the other point of emphasis from Moser from the Zoom on Tuesday. The depth's got to be a lot better. Yeah, it's fun to play all the guys when you're up 20-30, but you need to still be able to count on 8 to 10 when it's a close game like it was throughout the course of Sunday's game.
I feel like And Groves kind of got a raw deal a little bit in that tournament in a couple of games.
Yeah, it was weird. He's just learning.
He's got to figure out a way to stay out of foul trouble.
Exactly. He's learning how to be officiated at a level like this. Like, I'm not saying Eastern Washington refs were terrible or something, but like maybe the way they officiate contact was a little bit different and he's having to adjust. And yeah, because I mean, and that's why Sunday was surprising too, because Tanner Groves fouls out Thursday. And Jordan Goldwire is that guy. That's the only reason they won that game is because he held on to the ball. He made his free throws, or else East Carolina wins that one. And then, Tanner plays so well on Friday and Sunday, but they're not quite there yet. And what's funny is outside of the gimme tonight against Houston Baptist, you're looking at a 4-game stretch that could really give you an idea of whether or not some of these fans are even going to care about the conference season. I mean, at Central Florida, you welcome Florida to Lloyd Noble, the game from last year that didn't happen. Then you've got Butler. Then you have Arkansas in Tulsa, and we know how good Razorbacks are. That 4-game stretch is going to say a lot as to what we can really expect when conference season starts.
I watched a little bit of Arkansas last night, Cincinnati. That was a pretty good game up in Kansas City, the Hall of Fame game.
I've watched Butler a couple of times. I mean, they've been playing a very difficult schedule, so their record isn't really indicative of how good they are, but that'll be a nice test for them.
Florida won at Miami. They're undefeated.
Yeah. You know who still plays for Miami, right?
Cam McGusty.
Cam McGusty is still playing college basketball, which is just unbelievable to me.
Class of 2016. Yep. Still around.
God. He's almost as old as some of those Utah State players.
I didn't know that Justin Bean kid was from Moore.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
If he's 25, that means he was like class of 2015 or 14 or something. Like he's way down there.
Didn't you say that Moser was just like he was infatuated with how old their team was?
Almost as much as Lincoln and people have been about the OSU defense.
Yeah, it's reminded me of the same thing. Yeah,
they're old. They're experienced. They're old.
It's like all these coaches are pissed off about all the COVID rules that have made these super rosters for schools of seniors.
You know what? My super, I guess not super hot take, but would it be fair to say that Oklahoma State is the team that everybody thought Iowa State was going to be?
That's fair.
Yes,
all those returning older guys. Yep. It's almost like we just kind of overlooked it, but it was kind of like almost hiding in plain sight.
Well, but OSU had not had that level of success the last 3-4 years.
No, and that's fair. I think that's probably why nobody put 2 and 2 together. But looking back on it, it's like it makes sense why this group is playing so well defensively.
But offensively, you thought, they're losing Chuba, they're losing Thailand. That, like, last year was their window to do it.
Nobody thought Jalen Warren was going to be what Jalen Warren has become. That's completely fair.
Well, they had that big it was such a letdown last year because of that big celebration, all coming back, and then it just fell flat on its face, and Chuba got hurt, and the offensive line was terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of incredible that, I mean, don't forget that we're almost a year and a half removed from, I think that there was a general consensus, especially after the OAN stuff. It was like, well, maybe OSU should just move on from Mike Gundy. Maybe they need to separate from each other. Shit, we're 3 months away or 2 months removed from wondering if they were even going to get to 6-7 wins after they struggled with Tulsa and Missouri State. He's done a hell of a job up there. I guess this is just kind of the final hurdle, talking about Mike Gundy and, obviously Jim Knowles. He's probably going to win the Broyles Award.
You know what's funny is we've seen all these teams go for it on 4th down against OU. This might be the one team that actually doesn't.
Sure,
that's a good point.
They trust the defense so much that if OU can just get them down on 3rd down, they actually might get off the field.
It would be, I think, recommended for Oklahoma as any game, and particularly this one, if you want to cast some doubt in that. Not only the sideline, but that stadium, you find a way to get an early lead. And that's kind of how you stay in the game. Like, I remember that people in 2013, was it Des Roland that had the first play of the game called back. They scored a touchdown, Oklahoma State, didn't they? And it got called back on a hold.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Or at least it was a big play. It might have been.
Yeah, inside.
But yeah, it is a big play. Yes.
I think he scored in 2013. So, you look at the numbers, it's kind of interesting. Some numbers, like the Vegas line, is moved all the way up to 5.5 at some places. Then Bill Connolly puts out his metrics this morning, and it's a 28-27 game. So I don't think it's going to be like, I know that I've used the word assaulted. Maybe I've backed off that a little bit, but I think it's going to be a really good game and come down to the fourth quarter.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it should be a pretty even matchup with all things, considered. But like you said, the penalties that OU had, just the undisciplined play, special teams have not been great outside of, having the special teams player of the week in Michael Turk. You get bits and pieces here and there, but it's just not been great overall. So can they limit that? Can they do that? So can they I'm not saying they have to play the perfect game to win, but they just cannot have a lot of boneheaded mistakes like they've been having, especially in Stillwater with a true freshman quarterback that's probably going to be a little bit shaky as it is.
Sure. And I think that's completely like, I just can't get to the point where I say, yes, they're going to play this, this fantasy of getting to the point where everybody's expected the same to get and complement each other. And if they do, Kerry, I think OU probably wins the football game. They're the better. If both teams played their best game on both sides of the football, right, OU can win this game. I just can't sit here and say that they're going to do it knowing 11 times they've been in this situation and they haven't been able to deliver. Now, credit them that it's kind of like the Iowa State thing. It's like they're 6-0 in one possession games for a reason, because they have made plays. You could argue that, you're probably less than 10 plays away, though, from this thing. Instead of being 10-1, it's 6-4 or 6-5.
I would say this. If there's one team that can kind of, I'll throw this out there kind of as a round table. If there's one team that can take getting hit in the mouth right away, which team is it?
No, I mean, I guess based on track record, it would be OSU. I mean, they were the team that was down 17-3 in Austin that was seemingly got a pick six to turn their season around. I haven't liked how OU, when they've been hit in the mouth, how they've responded. I thought last week,
weren't they down 28-3 at Texas?
When they got hit in the face, they did not respond. As it turns out, Texas is just a fraud of a.
Well, that was the example you used, so I threw it back in your face.
Yeah, no, you're taking away your own point.
Yeah, that's true. I completely get that.
But yeah,
I like the way that older group handles things in Stillwater a lot more than how I've seen Oklahoma handle things in person.
It is just extremely messed up because, if you took most of Oklahoma's schedule and put it where Oklahoma State played, you might think that Oklahoma was the juggernaut coming into this game. Because Oklahoma's coming in off of Baylor and Iowa State, whereas Oklahoma State's coming in off of TCU and Texas Tech.
Yeah, but those were dominating performances.
So were OU's, just in different ways. That's what I've been. It was 52-31.
Doesn't OU have the best win over Texas Tech out of anybody?
Yeah, 52-21 against Texas Tech. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I felt like Tech moved. I'm there with you guys, though, as far as defensively. I think that it's maybe even flying under the radar a little bit how well Oklahoma's played. Then you go to the fourth quarter situation. It's like, oh, yikes. I mean, even the first possession of every game. I know that I think Jordan started a thread about it on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, after the first possession, the first series last week, I was ready to walk out of the stadium. I was disgusted. All the third downs that Iowa State was able to convert, it was just like, I don't know. Something happens, though.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys will be in Stillwater to bring it all to us. If it is a win, I would say that it would be the most satisfying win OU has had probably since the Florida game, since the bowl game last year.
Yeah, the best. Congratulations. Go do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'm sure Oklahoma State fans will be like, crap, they beat us here. We're not going to win next week either.
And that would be like what people talked about before is how fair is it? You have to win on the road to beat them the first time, and then you have to beat them in a neutral site too. That was way back when they were talking about bringing in a championship game, how unfair that would feel that you'd have to beat a team twice, but even though you've already beat them at their place to begin with.
And that's why you don't stay in a bullshit conference where everybody plays everybody.
Oh, we thought you just quit out of spite.
No, you guys were just making great points. I hear myself talk all the time. I was just enjoying, just soaking it up.
I was really hoping that you just stormed off and quit.
No, even my dad. Even my dad trolls me about my lack of participation in the basketball portion of the podcast.
You're just not a hoops guy. You never have been.
I was like I always liked bat.
Well, everyone is when you're a student.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it lost me. It's not, like I just couldn't watch 60 to 58 forever. Like I just was like you lost me. I'm not interested. Now they seem to be like I maybe I'm going to get more interested, but the primary two eras of the last 20 years of Oklahoma college basketball are just hard to watch.
You're an olds, I think.
I thought you were going to drop
there's
like
a give and take. There's only so many hours in a day.
Oh, yeah. It ain't like it used to be. All right. I think we're done here. It was nice being with you guys for this long. No Zooms to get in our way today. Want to wish all you guys and your family a happy Thanksgiving. And everyone out there listening, want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving as well. Hug your loved ones. Take care of each other. Be safe out there if you're traveling as well. And by the way, go get in on that special on Dead Soxy. I think that's the best deal that they've ever had. The buy one, get one. And it's a great deal. So go check it out. But that's going to do it for us. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you back here next week after Bedlam. Maybe looking forward to a Big 12 championship, maybe drowning our sorrows. We'll see what happens. But looking forward to it all. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.